3, 2, 1. Hello, world. I'm Dan Salem, live on YouTube, BuzzChomp channel, about to talk the NFL, fantasy football, woo, and sports. Let me go live over on Facebook. Click, click, click. The button. 3, 2, 1. Hello, hello. What's up, Facebook? What's up, YouTube? Dan Salem here at the Dan Salem on Facebook Live, Facebook mentions. Over on YouTube, BuzzChomp channel. Let me tweet this action out. I'm about to talk fantasy football, NFL here, live from Los Angeles. My daughter's a little cranky now. Oh, no, she's not. I'm just kidding. Okay, let me tweet this out. Sharon, because we're talking fantasy football, NFL. It's officially the season now that the draft is over. Tweeted it on at the Dan Salem on Twitter. Gonna hit the retweet button on BuzzChomp on Twitter. 3 Z's for BuzzChomp on Twitter. Just 2 when you're talking the regular YouTube space. Okay, so it is officially mid-May. The NFL draft is in the rearview window. Teams have their semi-final rosters in order. They're in voluntary workouts, which means that they should be there. They don't technically have to be there, but they better be there, especially the rookies. That means fantasy football is the topic for discussion because, yes, I will touch on it in a moment. There are a few players remaining in the NFL free agency pool, and there are teams that desperately need to add them. But, as we know, they're probably going to wait till July. Therefore, why don't we talk fantasy football? Because there was a fantasy football summit last week. ESPN has posted all of their expert analysis, blah, blah, blah. They're talking today about waiting on a quarterback. I'll get to that in a minute. But really, the big debate here is, how high do we value these running backs? I put up Zeke Elliott as our featured image for this live stream today on Facebook and YouTube. Because is Zeke the first pick? Is he the number 1 pick in the draft? Some people would say, no, you're effing crazy because there are wide receivers who score more points or are infinitely better. Then there would be the counterpoint to that, which is that's effing crazy because there are only a couple of really, really good, reliable running backs, and you better get them first or you're going to be SOL. Ezekiel Elliott is entering his sophomore season. He was great last year. The Cowboys still have a great offense on paper. Therefore, the chances of Zeke repeating his performance is rather high. He's young, he's healthy, and he's on one of the best teams in the NFC, if not the NFL in all. Great offensive line, great young quarterback to work with. And he was consistent all last season. Tremendous last season. I have Ezekiel Elliott on my fantasy team as a keeper, and I am ever so grateful because he is excellent. He was one of the few reliable running backs last year. He should be the number 1 pick in all of fantasy football, period. He may not score quite as many points on a weekly basis as Antonio Brown or a couple of our other wide receivers. Beckett on the Giants. Beckham. Oh, tired. Sorry. Beckham on the Giants. Antonio Brown. There's 1 or 2 other guys. What's his face? Julio Jones for Atlanta last year as well. That dominated points-wise. And they were atop Zeke. But from a strictly value standpoint, which is how you need to draft to win, you should take this running back first. If you don't take Zeke first and you take Antonio Brown, okay, so you have the best wide receiver in the game of football. Great, you can rely on him. Who's your running back? There are only 1 or 2 other options at running back after Zeke, or before, depending on how you choose to rank them, that you can truly trust. And I guarantee you, unless you're playing in a 5-team league, if there's 10 teams in your league, those guys are not going to be around in round 2. They will not be there round 2. Because if you pass, someone else is going to snatch them up. Plain and simple. Let me pull up some running fantasy football rankings from last season. Fantasy football rankings 2017. Because basically, there are a lot of wide receivers that are really good. Yes, the top 5 stand way above the pack, but the 10 through 15 are excellent. And you can win with those players if you have one of the top running backs. If you don't, We'll go with Mr. Matthew Berry's rankings because he's one of the premier experts, correct? Oh, so this is all quarterbacks, running backs. Okay, so he's got Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson ahead of Ezekiel Elliott. Fair enough. I pick Zeke because I actually don't trust Pittsburgh or Arizona to be good football teams. Both are probably going to be good, but I don't trust them like I trust the Cowboys, and they're also not quite as young. David Johnson was more in the passing game. Le'Veon Bell, yes, he dominates. There's just the injury question with him. So, okay, so you got those 3 guys, right? Then he's ranking LaShawn McCoy, Buffalo, Jordan Howard, Chicago, Melvin Gordon, the Chargers. And then we got Devontae Freeman, Atlanta. That's 7 running backs. But only the top 3 are truly going to be coveted. They're all going to be going by round 2. If you don't have one of those 3, you are a step behind the rest of your league. So in my humble or not so humble opinion, draft those running backs first, people. Draft them first. My brother and I debated on NFL Spin Zone today, running back or wide receiver. Now, if you're later in the first round, my opinion is now you take one of the top wide receivers. Now, my brother said, well, these other running backs are still more valuable because you can win with the 15th ranked wide receiver. You can't win with the 15th ranked running back who is Mr. Christian McCaffrey, who has not even seen the field yet. 14 is Mark Ingram. If Mark Ingram is your top running back, you're in trouble. No offense to Mark Ingram. The 10th running back ranked here is Lamar Miller out of Houston. Jay Ajayi is number 9. You probably can win with them being your number 1 back, but if you can get Zeke number 1 and then Ajayi as your second back, hell, even Devontae Freeman because everyone's going wide receiver, then you have the 2 of the top 10 running backs. In terms of wide receivers, because this is what will be left for you if you pick those 2 guys in your first 2 rounds, the 20th receiver is Jarvis Landry. Allen Robinson, DeAndre Hopkins is 22nd. Terrell Pryor is 23rd, who is a steal. 15th, Sammy Watkins. That's a 15th wide receiver. 15 through 20 is pretty damn good. Sammy Watkins, Julian Edelman, Devontae Adams, Golden Tate, Brandon Cooks. All those guys are going to put up numbers. They're going to score points. They are really, really good. Now, yes, the top 5 stands above. Antonio Brown, Odell Beckham Jr., as we mentioned. Then there's Mike Evans, Julio Jones, A.J. Green. Jordy Nelson, if he's healthy. Those receivers are definitely a leap and bound above their counterparts. But the next 10 guys are excellent. After the top 3 running backs, the next 10 guys precipitously fall off. So if you really want to win, go for value. You've got to take the value of the running back, and it's higher than the value of the same level wide receiver. It's just simple because there's more receivers than there are backs that are excellent. Hell, we go all the way down to number 50. The 50th ranked wide receiver is Mike Williams, the rookie in the Chargers, and I think he's going to be excellent. Randall Cobb's 56. I mean, that's still a highly decent wide receiver he's going to put up numbers each week. He's on the Packers. The Packers do well. The 50th running back, Derrick Henry out of Tennessee. I don't know if he gets more than a carry or 2 a game. So it's just not comparable. We know it. Hell, the 30th, Frank Gore in Indianapolis. Is Frank Gore really somebody you want to rely on? He's the 30th running back. You need these top 5, one of the top 5 guys, or you're going to suck. You're SOL. That's why they're not available in keeper leagues, because people hold on to them and they pay a price. It doesn't matter what it is because they know better. So then with those two pieces of logic in mind, Maddie, don't cry, okay? Because with those two pieces of logic in mind, we must now talk quarterbacks, and that's where the fun begins. So, if you want to go running back, first and or second round, so you can try to grab one of the top 10 or two of the top 10 guys, then you dive into the wide receiver pool because you don't want to be SOL there. And you want to get two of the top 25 receivers. We're suggesting you wait on a quarterback till the 4th or 5th round. I agree with that logic to a point. I don't think you should wait past the 4th round to draft your quarterback. I would not be opposed to drafting a quarterback in the 3rd round because I think Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Drew Brees, Andrew Luck, Matt Ryan, the top 5 quarterbacks, are worth it. There's just something about a reliable offense and a reliable quarterback who's going to get 4 touchdowns a game on average that makes me feel warm and fuzzy inside. Now, yes, I get it. The 10th ranked quarterback is Ben Roethlisberger. The 20th ranked quarterback is Carson Palmer. And the 25th ranked quarterback is Joe Flacco. Now, I don't like having Joe Flacco on my fantasy team, but he's decent. Carson Palmer was decent. After I kind of screwed. So, Eli Manning 19th. He's a decent fantasy quarterback. Andy Dalton 18th. He's a decent fantasy quarterback. You don't want them as your top quarterback. But with 10 guys, 10 teams in your league, I mean, you're likely to get one of the top 10 players. And hell, Cam Newton's ranked 11th right now. So, the point is, you can wait until round 3, 4, 5, even 6 and get an excellent quarterback because everybody's diving into the receivers and they're going to panic and try to scoop up the running backs. And hell, there's only like 2 good tight ends you can even trust. So they're going to try to scoop those guys up too. Someone's going to be dumb and draft a defense early. Someone's going to be dumb and draft a kicker early. This really lets you wait on your quarterback. But if you're doing an auction league, which is infinitely more fun and which is what I play in, you're going to have to pay through the roof for these QBs. The top 5 specifically. I have Matt Ryan. He's my keeper. I'm not getting rid of him. I mean, Kirk Cousins. I don't know if any of these are. I don't even know if any of the top 15 quarterbacks are even going to be available in my league because it's a keeper league. But you're going to have to pay handsomely for one of these top QBs because they got name value, and the top 10 just from a reliability, consistency standpoint are way above the competition. Now, I question Big Ben Roethlisberger this season because he's coming off an injury. It's probably his last year. But he's got Antonio Brown, so then I kind of don't question it anymore. Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Luck, Brees, Brady, Rodgers. These guys are all consistent high point scorers. QBs are the most prevalent point scorers in fantasy football. They score the most each week. They're on the field, always with the ball in their hand. They score the most. So, we're talking value. Fantasy football value, correct? A quarterback is more valuable than a wide receiver or a running back because they score more points. But the top 5 quarterbacks are not nearly as valuable as the top 5 running backs or wide receivers because there are a lot more viable wide receiver options that are excellent, but not nearly. The difference between the 1st and the 10th wide receiver is way bigger than the difference between the 1st and the 10th quarterback. And the 1st and the 10th running back is not even close. 1st and the 10th tight end, not even close. I know the tight end doesn't really fall into the conversation very often. But really, the first 3 or 4 tight ends are the ones we trust. And then after that, I mean, okay, so Gronkowski, I think we can trust. Jordan Reed, Travis Kelce. Then you got Greg Olsen, Delaney Walker, Jimmy Graham, Kyle Rudolph, and we're dropping off a cliff because these guys just don't score the points. Travis Kelce was tremendous last year, and he did not get a touchdown every week. Most of these guys don't find the end zone each week, so you need them to get 70 to 100 yards. Kelce was tremendously reliable in that regard. He just didn't find the end zone. We shall see. I mean, O.J. Howard's down at 14th. I would take a flyer on him. I like Hunter Henry on the Chargers as well because Phillip Rivers loves to throw to his tight end. But it's a huge drop-off. So you need to grab one of the top 3 or 4 tight ends also, or you're going to kind of be screwed. All right. So that's the fantasy perspective. Drafts are obviously a couple months away, but running back and tight end, high value positions, because the top 3 or 4 guys are way better than whoever's after them. Receivers, there are a set of 10 to 15 that score a ton of points and you need them. And then quarterbacks, I mean, all of the top 20 guys are pretty much even Steven. But I'd much rather have Aaron Rodgers than Carson Palmer. Just saying. I have Matt Ryan. If he can keep up his pace from last season, whoa. But I'm not holding my breath. Okay. Now, what else is there going on here? There is the fact that there are still some big-name free agents, specifically quarterbacks, floating around the league that have not signed with a team. Colin Kaepernick, Robert Griffin III, to name 2, and there's probably no one else worth mentioning on the list. Colin Kaepernick, he's going to be on a team next season. He is young and has been very good. He's not likely to get a starting job unless he comes into a camp early and swoops in and wins it. And I have a feeling he hasn't been signed yet because teams don't want him to have a chance to win the starting job before the season. I mean, if he wins it as the year progresses on a bad team, so be it. But they'd rather bring him in as the backup. It's less controversial. It's less headline grabby, what have you. I'm seeing news that maybe the Seahawks bring him in. He'd be a good backup there. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know. I guess I can see him with Pete Carroll. He's got a really, he's an excellent backup quarterback because he can start in the right situation and truly thrive. He could start on most any team and truly thrive on a half of them. I'd like to see him. He'd be a good backup for the Cardinals as well. Houston's got a mess of QBs down there. I don't know why they don't just bring one more in on a flyer. Maybe they could spark. I mean, they were a playoff team last year. People rip me apart because I think they're in a really good shape. I like Houston. They just need someone that's not going to turn the ball over and or make plays. Kaepernick can make those plays. I mean, if my Jets weren't completely rebuilding, I would want Kaepernick. But there's no point right now. I'd rather see Hackenberg play as a Jet fan. Around sports, we have the Celtics versus the Cavaliers and the Spurs versus the Warriors. I bet if we asked 9 out of 10 NBA fans, they would have said those would be the final 4 teams. 1 out of 10 would have taken a flyer on the Rockets or Clippers or Wizards or maybe somebody else. But these were the final 4 teams. We all knew it. That's why it's hard to talk the NBA because now we have the final 4, and this is what we expected to happen. We had the Warriors and Cavs and Spurs last year. I don't know. I think it was OKC, but not without Durant. We knew these were going to be the 4 teams: Spurs versus Warriors, Celtics versus Cavs. Cavs had tremendous amount of rest before their series here that they're going to start with the Celtics. The Warriors got a ton of rest before they started to play the Spurs. I mean, that doesn't bode well for anybody rooting against another repeat in the finals of Cavs-Warriors. But Cavs-Warriors is pretty awesome. 2 best teams, 2 best players facing off. Would be the 3rd year in a row. It's the rubber match of the series, if you will, because Warriors took 1, Cavs took 1. This is the rubber match in year 3. This is what was great in the 80s when it was Bird versus Magic and they kept meeting in the finals. I mean, it's kind of what you want out of the NBA. The best players playing in the finals for the trophy. If the Spurs make it, it will be a little disappointing because Kawhi Leonard's awesome, but he's not like a nationally. I mean, he's known nationally. Don't get me wrong, but he doesn't yet have that name value. Now, if the Spurs could win a title, I guess he may be bringing about him. This is a different Spurs team, though, than what we were used to seeing in the finals before. The Celtics are making a name for themselves, and again, a nationally recognized team, but Isaiah Thomas is barely cracking the casual fans' radar. If they make the finals, he will, obviously. But I don't see it happening. It's going to be Cavs-Warriors. It'd be really, really surprising to see anything but that. And I think the Warriors are the villains, and I'm rooting for the Cavaliers if that is the matchup. LeBron, to me, is the greatest basketball player of all time, but he needs to win more titles for everyone to agree on that. So I'm rooting for him to do so because he's the king. He's the king. My Yankees have cooled off slightly, but they are still near the top of baseball and on track to make the playoffs. The Cubs kind of fell on some hard times here. Indians, Red Sox also not playing tremendously great. But only a few teams have truly eliminated themselves. The San Francisco Giants, they're way behind. I mean, they have so much work to do if they have any prayer of making the playoffs. And same with the Toronto Blue Jays. A couple surprises. Minnesota Twins playing great baseball. Rockies and Diamondbacks also playing very good. Not very surprising that the Nationals are great. And who else? Oh, yeah, the Orioles. We kind of saw that, too. That's a trip around sports. Next week, we'll be a little closer to the NBA Finals, but not quite there. It'll be pre-Memorial Day. We'll see. But there's always NFL to talk about. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I am Dan Salem. I am live every Tuesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, talking the NFL and a little bit of sports. At the Dan Salem on Twitter. At the Dan Salem on Facebook, Facebook Live. Over on YouTube, BuzzChomp, Pillow Talk TV for comedy. We've thrown up some Bacon with Bitches episodes, hilarious cooking comedy. We're going to be making fun of Donald Trump again this Friday. I'll be back next Tuesday to talk NFL, fantasy football, and sports. Thank you. Have a great rest of your evening. Peace. Peace. And we say...